Good afternoon, everyone. We're just doing a quick mic check. We'll be starting in a couple of minutes. If you can hear all three of us, there's myself, Alan, and
Hello.
our special guest today. If you can hear all three of us, let us know.
Hello.
Great. We will
Everyone
get
said
this
she was
stream
always.
started up in just a couple minutes.
Yep, I think so.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another We Have a Cave Troll stream. My name is Matt Elliott. I go by Scenario on the message boards, and we have with us today.
Alan Mackey, I go by Orion on the boards.
Chris Grosvenor, I go by MVP.
And today we wanted to have our topic for the day be festivals and events. We just wrapped up our spring festival and our April Fool's Chicken Run. Those happened very recently. And we invited Chris on today as well because Chris has picked up a lot of the upcoming, I don't know if rehab and refurbishment of festivals is the right word, but embellishments and introductions of new content to our festivals. So we figured, why not bring him on in and just talk about what we like about festivals.
As the kids say, we brought him on for reasons.
Reasons
There are
indeed.
reasons.
I like
So.
festivals because they're silly.
They are silly, but they're fun. Like the whole idea behind them is that they're supposed to be fun, right?
I can
They're
put more bad jokes in
fun, of
festival quests than I can in like serious content.
course. That's what
Well,
makes
I
them
think
great.
that's one of the things that with festivals, it gives a nice break for a lot of players to have that fun, right? Like if you are a level cap player and you're focused on the instances, the raids, finishing the newest content and whatnot, like having a festival pop up is just an opportunity for you to kind of be like take a break from what you normally would be doing in game and just be silly, be goofy, play dress up,
Get
participate in a
dressed up.
horse race, that
It's
kind of
important.
thing.
Dress up might be the most important part of it, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
for sure. Also, I was thinking about how, there's a lot of players that you don't hear from that just quietly play by themselves and don't even get a character to level cap. And a lot of times, like, that's the only time that they really see a lot of other players because, they're just questing throughout and everybody's kind of spread out and stuff. Well, I guess this was before the newer servers, but yeah, sometimes it's like the only time you really, other than going to breed, that you see a whole bunch of people in one place. So that's also fun and why you should get dressed up.
Well, and one of the things that I really enjoy about Lotro too, and I don't see it happen as often in other games, is players will throw together their own festivals on top of what we already have. Like I am still amazed that Weathertop or Weatherstock
Oh,
is
other
With a
stock.
stock, yeah.
yeah, Weatherstock is something that without fail always happens every year and people love it. And the
Love it. They plan for it, man. Like there's a
yeah.
whole there's a whole crew of individuals that every year get together and plan that whole thing. It's like a real festival. I mean, at least it's better than Fire Festival, right? Was it
The
too
first
soon?
character I made on Landerval was just to go to Weatherstock, and then I ended up liking the server so much that I moved my characters over.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think those player run events and even just festivals in general give players an opportunity to come together as a community in a way that they don't normally do, at least not in the like public sense. Like there might be kinship gatherings that happen at kinship houses or kind of off in their own little spaces, but you know, something like a spring festival, the anniversary event, or Weatherstock, or even the plays that happen in the Blue Theater, those bring players together in a public space and get groups of players that might not interact with each other normally kind of mingling and engaging and sometimes competing, you know, with hardtack, with the mount or with the horse races and whatnot. They aren't I wouldn't say they are like dire competitions, but they are like a little bit of a friendly competition against each other.
Sure. Sure. I mean, go on.
No, I was just gonna say I like it when there's volunteers in the audience who are handing out snacks during these things. That's all.
It's kind of cool.
It is.
I mean, I know that like we've been looking to try to put more festival style events in, and you know, one of my overall goals is to eventually get one event for every crafting, you know, profession we have, so that there's that depth of things that can be rotated through and turned on over time that players can just kind of get involved with and continue playing. But we also have like our more structured stuff, and I think it's important that one of the things that we've done in Lotro specifically is try to match it to the festivals that exist inside of the game world, right? I remember, oh God, we're dating ourselves again, Matt. You know, that back when we started working on this, we had planned out all of the different Elvish festivals, or I should say, Elven festivals that exist, and wanted to try to address those. Back when I don't even remember when Lauren's, yeah, I think that was her board name, when she was here working on a bunch of that stuff too. So this has been a long time building toward and building more of these, and now, you know, MVP is just taking over and is starting to work on all this stuff and giving us a deeper bench of these events, which is I
The
think.
Department of Frivolity.
Ooh,
So
ooh, and you are the director. That you've just
Yes.
like claimed a new title. That's fantastic.
so
I
there
should
is
get that on the forums.
You should.
there is a question in chat that kind of dovetails into this a little bit, and feel free to speak about it, Chris, as much as you'd like. But the question is for Arabani. Who is the new guy, and what are they responsible for in the game? Because I think this is really the first
Oh,
time you've
yes.
been in something like this, so a lot of people may not be
Yeah.
familiar with you.
So I'm MVP. I started out in QA, and a year and a few months ago, I moved over to content design. So I am a content designer. I make quests, missions, all of that other stuff. But in addition, recently I've picked up doing festival quests by Alan's request. Hey,
Well,
Chris, you want to
hey,
do this? I'm like,
It was a request.
yes.
It wasn't a demand.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems
Oh,
like you're
just
having
my
fun with
arm.
it.
Yeah.
What do you what has so you've kind of done a deep dive into a lot of the different festival stuff that um, we've offered over the years, and you've had plenty of experience with it as a player. What would you say is your favorite festival in Lotro right now?
I think it's got to
That's
be
a tough
Yule.
one.
Yule is wonderful.
Yeah, it's probably because Yule is really robust, right? Yule has a
Yeah.
lot of depth to it. Uh, that was God. I think it was when it was implemented originally. Wasn't that like three people that worked on that?
I
Two or
think
three people that worked
I
on that?
think Iceman built the space,
Built the space.
but
The
I don't
Lorens
remember
built
who did the design work
the
on it.
the Lorens did a lot of the design work on it. I remember that. And then I think that JHD did some work on that
Hmm.
too. That was ages ago though. That was like 2009,
Whoever did the play, I
2010.
have no idea how that magic was done. I don't even want to go look in
That
there.
That's a
was that
lot of
Keth?
little events, if I remember right, with the
It
play.
is. Was that Keth that did that?
Maybe.
Yeah, it was either
I
Keth.
was
It
on
might
so
have, it
many
might have been Made
little
Alliance.
like R&D projects at the time that was being worked on that I have a gap of knowledge because I used to be pretty aware of everything that was being worked on, but then at a certain point I was like shuffled off to like, well, I shouldn't say shuffled off, but I was like moved over to prototyping and R&D and whatnot, and so I lost a lot of awareness of what was happening, and then all of a sudden, Winterhome and Dunland and Isengard are all happening, and I'm just like, I haven't what?
When things go from planning to happening, it's very fast. It can give you
Yeah,
whiplash.
Yeah.
it does.
Well,
Yep.
I think part of the charm too of Yuletide and Winterhome itself, along with Wistmead and the Harvestmouth Festival, is they are their own kind of like limited time encapsulated experiences, and there's something that show up for a little bit of time, and that helps keep them a little bit fresh. Whereas like a lot of our other festivals send you to the Bree Party Fields, they send you to um, you know Mickle Delving or to Hobbiton and whatnot, and so the Party Tree, and those are areas that you are in potentially regularly depending on what characters you're working on, and so something like Winterhome and Wistmead and other things that are coming up in the future um, have a bit more novelty to them too when you go into those spaces.
It's like going to grandma's house and you only see her that once a year,
Yeah.
but you always have fun every time you go. Yeah, for sure. And that's can I talk about upcoming stuff that I've been working on?
Yeah, we could. I mean,
Do we want to drop
as
hints?
long as we don't tease too much that isn't done. But let's
Oh,
be honest, the majority of the stuff
done.
that you've got in there is already done, right?
It's done. Yeah, I'm polishing now. Yeah, so for Midsummer, I wanted to kind of replicate the feel of going to Winterhome, and where you have, like Frost Bluff, your own area for this festival. I wanted to create an area for Midsummer that isn't Minas Tirith. And give players somewhere else to go if they want. And last year we had developed the Shield Isles, which is beautiful, and I can't imagine a better place to spend your summer vacation than on a beach in the Shield Isles. So that's what we're going to be doing for Midsummer this year.
And
I got to build the island.
the important thing to note here is that it's not like completely replacing the wedding
No,
event. That's still going to
it's
be
in
there.
addition to.
It's in addition, right? It's a I would say bonus because it's not really a bonus. It's just it's additional. It's another thing that we can look forward to, potentially expanding on every year too. And I know that we're not planning on just doing that. We're taking a look at all the festivals and trying to see if there's ways that we can make them a little bit different and a little bit bigger and kind of focus on them. Like one of the
That's
things
not
that
to
we
say that all festivals are
oh
getting
no,
a
it's
thing
not.
this year.
It's not.
I don't want
We
anyone
look
to
at them.
misinterpret that.
We look at them. We're looking at everything, right? It's
Yeah.
what we're trying to do is just figure out what the right balance is and make sure that they remain as fresh as they can be, as fresh and interesting as they can be.
Well, and there's that again, that point of novelty, right? Like I think the original Midsummer event had some novelty to it because of its association with the Great Wedding and whatnot. But I think the Great Wedding has an anchor in the main story, and it's therefore not really that kind of its own little pocket, its own little thing. And so the introduction of the this new island, this festival island, I think is going to help inject some novelty into that event. That you've been to Minas Tirith before the war, during the war, after the war, and now during a wedding, and I can see where people might be Minas Tirith out. Um,
It's
And
a
so
beautiful city, though.
this is a chance to go from a beautiful city to a beautiful island.
Right.
Sure.
I'm really
the
tempted
nice
to say
thing,
spoiler things, but I'm not going to.
well, and
No, yeah,
I
no,
think
no, no, not yet.
No.
the nice thing about what you've done, Chris, with this upcoming space is it does give the opportunity to have room for expansion in that
Yes.
segment of the festival in the future. Whereas I think something like Midsummer Minas Tirith, it is such a big space that it takes a lot of time to get around the city, and we acknowledge that. Um, so having something that's a little bit more concise, a little bit more focused on the festival itself, I think will help give us additional runway to follow in future years to grow it.
I'm trying to remember what Midsummer was before we had the wedding.
Is it?
Nothing.
Like what? Okay.
That's what I'm thinking. I
Midsummer
think it
Minas
was.
Tirith was created specifically for the Great Wedding and Midsummer event, and they kind of
Okay, because I know that there was two of them combined. The spring, or not spring.
Oh,
Oh, we lost MVP.
oh, and now he's back.
I'm back.
MVP's back.
Yeah, I don't know. Discord kicked me off the channel. I don't know. Let me get my camera back. There we go. Yeah, I remember that at one point there were two festivals that were combined. Because there's, I don't remember. I
So
thought you guys might and could.
we
Remind me.
originally had the Summer Festival, and then we had Farmers Fair. So we had Midsummer and Farmers Fair, and because of how close they were to each other, it made it really hard for them to feel like they were distinct from each other.
So those are the ones that were combined.
Right. So I think some of Farmers Fair went into Midsummer, some of it went into Harvest Math, and so that kind of helped give a little bit of a breather room between the two of them. And Minas Tirith Midsummer was always, it was the Midsummer festival was introduced at the same time as the Great Wedding, and so that's why it's all like tied together narratively. The new epic book was added as part of that as well. So let's see if there are any questions that we have in chat. Is there going to be Yule in July as an every year thing? I know in the past we've done event encores. I can't speak for that specifically myself because I'm not aware, but
No, I don't think that there's any plans to do Yule in July at this point. Well, I mean, we'll have to see whether or not there's enough demand for it, but I don't necessarily think that it's something that's on our agenda right now for this year. I mean, the latest letter to the players kind of outlines everything that we're currently looking at, and that's certainly not on there. But we'll see. I mean, like there are some events that are just really fun, and we like to turn them on every once in a while. So you never know what can potentially come back. I know that there's some disappointment with how the chicken run went this year. Certainly, there's some disappointment on my side, but things happened and didn't work the way we expected it to. It's always sad.
let's see if there. So Little Redhead asks if MVP, can you please tease which other festivals might be getting more content from you? There's one. I don't know what we've talked about.
Nope.
As far as the
anniversary has been announced, right? Like that's.
Yep, anniversary is announced.
Okay. So yeah, I created throwback missions for the anniversary, and so I think that'll be really fun. And then I've done Midsummer, and I can't speak for the rest of the year because we have an expansion to make. So it kind of just depends on how things go with that and how much time that I might have to do that versus if I need to, if I fall behind on my own work or if I need to help someone else with catch up on theirs or something like that. I do a lot of landscape quests. I don't do any. That's kind of why how I ended up doing all of this for Anniversary and Midsummer is that I don't typically work on instances and raids and that sort of thing. Those of you who know me shouldn't be shocked by that. Um, so yeah, while everybody else was working on raid bosses and all these detailed mechanic things, I was off having fun in my own little land. And so yeah, if if they get caught up in their instance or raid work for the expansion, then I might help fill in with some quests. I made last year I made some quests in Kudzagin to help fill in some space. And so,
I mean, for the
I
expansion,
think
you did more than just some
Yeah.
quests in Kudzagin, right? Like,
oh yes,
the entirety
I did.
of Amber Rule was yours.
I did all the quests in Amber Rule, and half of the missions there. Didn't quite get. I planned all the missions there. Didn't make all of them. But
I think
yeah.
I think one of the things you said too that was important there was having fun doing the festival quests and whatnot. I think that's something that is really important for designers to make sure that they have room for in their work is stuff that's fun for them as opposed to just
Yeah.
what is like what's in front of them to do work. So like finding those opportunities to have fun, having fun doing the festival quests, and it's often been said that designing content for things like festivals or the Shire is almost as hard as it is to design an instance because like you may think something like the pie deed in the Shire is easy on paper, but there's a different kind of work that has to go into it. You have to. It can be hard to write fun, as opposed to.
I want to write
creating
hobbits so
fun.
bad, though. I want to write hobbit dialogue so bad.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I still want to do Mithril Chef Shire. I totally want to do that. I've wanted to do that since 2007.
Well, you got your cooking. Your cooks are gonna need their thing one day. So
Well, maybe you can help me with that because the last two that I've done haven't gone over as well as I wanted. So maybe, I mean, the premise is there. I've got the spec. It's written.
I
It
can
just
take
needs
a
to
look
be
at
implemented. It's I mean, anybody who watched Iron Chef, that's where we're coming from. So
Regarding
and
what Scenario said though, I think that if a designer is not enjoying their job or they're just like, this is my 9 to 5 and they don't love their job, I feel like that players can see that, right? And if a designer is having fun with what they're doing, I think players can see that and they'll have more fun. So that's my opinion.
well, you can feel when love has gone into making something, and that's true with any media. If you're reading a book, you're watching a movie, you're playing a video game, and you can feel that the people that made it were having fun while they were making
Love is
it.
the secret ingredient.
mhm.
I mean, it is, right? Like, so
Yeah.
there's so much excitement and passion that the players have that it's certainly hard to match that energy in when we are working on things ourselves. But I think trying to hold on to wonder and excitement and a sense of fun in what you're making, like the all the jokes that I have heard over the years as a world designer with people making Bob Ross jokes about me with putting a happy little tree here, or there's a little happy little accident. Like, it's true though. Like, it can be very satisfying to just like be fiddling around and dropping trees here and there and being like, that looks really really nice, or like I accidentally put a ruin, like a crumbled wall, and it's like, oh, I didn't mean to put that there, but that works. Okay, great.
If you don't have creative freedom, you won't be able to have fun doing it. So
Or sometimes maybe you just drop a rock in the middle of a road and
Well, to be fair, I didn't exactly drop a rock.
I
on
know,
the
I
road.
know.
it dropped
I
itself.
replaced something that was supposed to not have been a rock with a rock. So, Alan, speaking of events and whatnot, we've had our own history with events going back and back and back. Do you remember what the first event you worked on Asheron's Call was?
Oh, come on, really? Yeah. Wait, was that was the Elemental Invasion the first one I did?
I think
Or
I think it was.
yeah, it was because I learned a lot from that first one where I learned that replacing all of the spawns, well, almost all the spawns across the world with elementals to show that a great enemy had appeared in the world was probably not the right choice. And
It
then when
it
we
definitely
refined
made
that,
exploring the landscape interesting for a couple months.
well, yeah, it was pretty it was pretty crazy. No, but that I mean, look, we we all start somewhere, right? And
Yep.
that was oh god, that was my second year doing content. I think it was. The Garland arc was my second year doing content. I
And
hadn't
you
learned a lot
swung
by then, and I
you
swung
swung
for
for
the
the
fences.
fences.
I swung for the fences. The funny thing is that I swung for the fences, and I definitely whiffed on that. But by the end of that arc, it was still regarded as one of the
Oh
best
yeah.
conclusions and raids in that game ever. So that was
Well,
good.
and then you and I
The
followed
rolling
that
balls
up
of
the
doom.
following year with a whole bunch of events.
Oh my god, yeah. And then
The
we
the
did
takeover
a
of
new
Fort Teth,
invasion. Yep.
the
We did the
Ulthoi
new
invasion.
invasion, which went so much better. We
Yep.
unleashed Nor. We did all sorts of wonderful stuff then, right?
I got to
Yeah.
do my first events or my first big like player choice thing too with the Baroon where
Oh yeah.
you built
Yeah.
the dungeon, built the quest, and it's like, go ahead, players. You can use this object here. We're not telling you to, but
Yep.
if you do,
Were you offering them a red button to see if they push it, kind of thing?
I
pretty
gave them a
much.
red button, Chris. I gave them a red button. I gave them a red button for a quest inside of the follow up to the Garland arc, which was New Madeira, who was the was one of the Garandim uh, sort mages that existed inside of the world. She had been captured by Garland, and nobody knew where she were. And then they found her, and they had an option to either sacrifice her or save her, and they would get a reward based off of that. And there was so much outcry about it because when we gave them that agency, they were like, "No, I just want both rewards." And it was like, "No, you can't have both rewards. You had to make a
Well,
Yeah,
decision."
and both rewards were basically the same
And they
thing.
were basically the same. Like it was like
but
the
they
name
want
was.
them.
They did. That's what it was. It was really funny.
Well, and then it hit them with a quest flag that did nothing
Yes,
for
that
years.
did nothing for a while. Yeah, that was
But
enlightening. It was interesting. We did the teleplays. I mean, so it's funny, right? But when you think about it, me and Kath both worked on an Ashland's Call alongside Scenario, and we were super passionate about the game. We did so much for AC. Oh God, I love that game so much. I miss it. But when we came over to Lotro, we took a lot of the things that we had learned from there to turn
mm-hmm.
into this. I mean, when we did the teleplays, this is funny, right? We did teleplays in Ashron's Call. That was the premise for all of the ring lore stuff and how the Amarthiel arc worked out. And spoiler, if you haven't played the game in 18 years, you know the whole Amarthiel thing uh, being live events was tied to a lot of the events that we had
Was it live
initially
events?
done. Yeah, there were.
They
There were
were.
live events with the
I
Amarthiel
had
for a
no
while.
idea.
Yeah.
She
Yeah,
and
she was weird.
I recently rediscovered some generator tech from that I am going to bend to my
No.
will in the future.
Yeah, but I
Um,
mean that's we learned a lot and we dragged it over, right? And then we've tried to incorporate some of that over time. And I mean the industry changes, the way that things work change, and the just the whole concept of what an event is now is different than it used to be. I mean we have more events all over the place, right?
At some point, there will be always an event, right? It'll just switch from one to the other.
Well, it's kind of funny, but I would love that, and I think some of our players would
Yeah.
like that. I don't know that. Again, we say this all the time. We have a really disparate player base. We don't have
Yeah.
just the achievers. We don't have just the people who are enjoying the festivals or people who are just hanging out on landscape and doing what they do. We've got a wide variety of players that are out there, and trying to give something to all of them is what we're doing. So if we could have enough events where there's always a rotation of things that you can do that are alternate to doing questing or raiding or instances or missions. I think players would kind of like that.
I
Yeah, I
think
think
the trick
everybody
with
likes
that,
having lots of options.
the trick with that though is making sure that those events are evergreen enough so that
Yeah,
players don't feel like they are required to uh, do those festivals, do those events every single time they come up, or else they'll miss out on things, right? And I think there are we've already seen some conversation from players about how like some of the events are like so big that they feel like they can't get everything that they want done. And so I think it's up to us to kind of figure out where we want that balance to be. Is it more regular events? Is it changes to how we handle the reward systems, like those sorts of things to as our slate, as our catalog of events grows.
yeah, yeah, and I mean, I think probably the hardest part is getting the proper incentivization, because we don't finding that balance of what it is that players really want from an event. I think is the key and kind of the biggest difficulty that we have in making sure that we get everything done the way we want to
They
get
want
it
a
done.
reason to do it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean with the way that some of our events are built now, uh, the fact that you can take the currency from year to year and basically just obviate the whole festival if you want to, because you've got enough of the currency to just carry over to the new year to get the rewards. But that might work for some people. But if you're into playing the event, then it's not really kind of what the spirit is, right? So there's got to be
I don't
ways
know.
around it. Got to
They're
be ways
still
around
playing it though.
it. That's true. They are. They are.
It's just they're playing it a year in advance and getting the stuff right away.
That's true.
But then if there's new quests that come out, you won't have a reason to run them because you're at currency cap.
That's also true.
Is there a cap for festival currency? I can't remember.
There probably is.
I imagine there is.
Somewhere. There is. There's got to be.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna have to look at the data. Give me a second here.
Should we jump into some of the questions that are in here? There are some great
sure.
festival really. So we have Obi in the Ocean saying, would love to see more tie-ins across the festivals. Midsummer has 4 crafting quests that count toward the wrapper. That's very nice. So I'm wondering if that feels like there might be a desire for kind of, in addition to festival-specific events, generic event or generic content, quests and whatnot that occur during all the events, or at least the major tentpole ones, that can kind of help towards that. At least that's my interpretation of what they're asking.
I think that's a fun idea.
Write it down.
Don't
Put
have
it
the
in there.
pencil.
Thanadir says, I always thought it would be cool to see Tale of the Shipwrecked Mariners become expanded even more as an event beyond quests and missions. I feel like we've opened up a whole couple of regions that are Corsair capable, and could see Tales of the Shipwrecked. Boy, I'm having a hard time talking today. Tales of the Shipwrecked Mariner expand into those regions as well. The tricky thing, though, with any event is we want festivals to be available for everyone. So it's hard to put that kind of content in like the Shield Isles because that is not a region for everyone. Which it does limit us a little bit in.
We have an island now.
We do have an island now.
So the answer is it is capped. It's just a really high cap.
Oh, okay.
Really, really high. Yeah, like on the Tales of the Shipwrecked Mariner, we did expand it. Oh God, just before Umbar.
Yeah, so 2 years ago now.
2 years ago. Wow. God, it was 2 years ago. But we did do that. I mean, it's talk like a pirate day. Arr. So it's.
Except that Corsairs aren't supposed to talk like pirates. That's
They
the
don't
sad
talk like
part.
Arr,
We have we have a guide that says like no piratey talk.
No piratey talk. No walking the plank. No,
Nope,
none
no
of that.
walking the plank, no shiver me timbers. There are no timbers to shiver.
I mean, I
So,
can see the Inn of the Forsaken getting tied into Tales of the Shipwrecked Mariner as well.
Well, I mean, there's already a Goonies aspect to it, so
Yeah,
sorry.
see
I know,
exactly.
I know that referencing
it's a
things
little
that are
far
like
from
30
the
years old.
sea,
Yeah.
though.
I mean,
It's not that
technically, the Brandywine River is
the
pretty far
Brandywine.
from the sea, so
Yeah,
we make
That's
do with what
also
we
a good
can.
point.
You all just need to let me build Minhiriath so that we can have a lower level coastline, and there we go, problem solved. Um,
I like Druid's question about does Pearson come rolling in after us with a very large book if we try to talk like pirates? The answer is yes. He will chase us down at our offices in our homes and beat us with the very large book that says, "Do not ever write things out
Actually,
like a pirate."
he started hitting us with the book before we even did anything. Like, we
We
didn't even get
thought
the
it.
chance. Yes, and and it's not a small book either.
Oh, it's big. It's very big, and
well,
it hurts.
for for this upcoming expansion pack, it was what 80 pages again, I think,
Yeah, it was pretty.
for
It was pretty
the
long.
region personality for
And
that
I don't
and
think
the history.
that's not even counting the glossary.
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
doesn't count the glossary, and it doesn't count the personalities of the individuals
Yeah.
who you'll be meeting along the way in the new expansion, which we aren't
like he
talking about.
that was
But
like 3 months worth
good
of his
God,
time working on that.
it
um,
is it's pretty cool having a scholar like him on the team. Ain't gonna lie.
from Lil Redhead 42 MVP. Now that you've been doing content for a little bit, what are some of your dream projects? What would you like to work on?
Ooh,
Well, I would like to write something with Hobbit dialogue. I would like to work on festival stuff. I'd like to do landscape quests. I'm doing all of those things already. I don't know that there's anything I can think of that I would like to do that I haven't dipped my toes into yet. Missions are a lot of fun to make. If you guys are ever like, why are there so many missions? It's because we have a lot of fun making them.
it can be.
I hope you like playing them because we like making them.
Well,
You
and
can do
they're
things in missions that are like, because on landscape, you can't make a monster or an NPC actually disappear or despawn because it needs to be there for other players, and you can do that inside an instance space. So a mission being a small instance space lets you do all kinds of things that you can't do on landscape, that you get frustrated with. And then after making missions, when you go to write landscape quests and you're like, I'm going to do this, and then you go to actually build it out and you're like, no, I'm not, because I can't. So
I mean, we
Very
have
true.
the phasing tech, which can help us a little bit on that front, though it is not without its own faults and challenges at times. But certainly
I think
the
the
I
players are
think
aware that there are some struggles with phasing, that it needs to be used carefully.
yeah,
You say
and
that,
I
and
do
yet we have so much phasing now.
I use it carefully often.
just get us physics phasing so we can actually do
Oh, that would be
quest
wonderful.
state world changes. That would be amazing. But yeah, I think the fun when we first, I remember when we first introduced phasing, someone had done a quest line where they had set combat monsters on to be phased, and
Yes,
so
yes.
you would have people roll into an area and get attacked by things that they couldn't see because the
What's it?
monsters are still there. They just couldn't see them because of their quest state. It's like, okay, we
We
need
had that bug
some.
in it when Corsairs of Umbar was first released. We had one of those.
It's like we need some guidelines on how this can be used.
Yeah. No invisible monsters, please.
Let's see.
Especially because you can't hit back. It's not even like you can fight the invisible monsters while they're invisible. You can't even target them. It's very sad.
Look at this. Can we get a J-Jax festival? Can we get ice fishing for Yule? Wow, look at all these.
Captain
You can
Kieran
send me
says,
a message on the forums with your ideas.
How can I
so
come to work for SSG support? What?
Captain Kieran says, does making rewards for the reward track affect how many rewards are made put into festivals? Since time and assets are limited, I was curious if it was affected in that way. Um, I feel like reward tracks rewards are their own separate thing. Oftentimes, both reward track and festival uh, rewards are kind of like passion driven by our artists too, where like they have a fun idea and we're like, hey, this would work great in this thing that we're thinking about. And so that I think those are good areas. Festivals are a great area, and reward tracks are a great area for our artists to to play, right? Like to have some fun.
Yeah, I mean, I get to sit in on a lot of those early meetings before any of the festival stuff or reward track stuff comes to light. We get to just kind of jaw about what we want to do, and some of the ideas that come up are really goofy. Some of them would probably never see the light of day. And then there's some that might be coming out this year that you're going to be like, what were they
Sometimes
thinking?
they're both. They are
Yeah, it's
goofy
true.
and
It's going
going
to
to
be
see
great.
the light of day.
I
Yes, I'm very excited about one that's coming out this year. Can't talk about it, but I'm really excited about it. Really
I am
excited
so
about it.
happy that no one poo pooed my idea for the rocket hamster and it became a thing.
That was your idea?
That is that
Good
is my
job.
favorite. I was just like, what if we again? It was just us spitballing idea rewards, and we
Hmm.
had just gotten the hamsters as a cosmetic pet and critter for the landscape, and we were coming up on anniversary, and I was like, can we just put fireworks on the back of a hamster? And people are like, yep, we're doing that. And it's adorable. They never go off, so the hamster is perfectly fine. But
Very safe. No hamsters were harmed in the making of this pet.
April Fools 2026 cosmetic hamsters. Oh, I'm sorry. You didn't hear any of that, did you?
um,
Ooh, damn.
Oh, I did want to say though, before we get off the topic of the art, that our art team is phenomenal.
Oh
I
yeah.
just want to get that off my chest. And our concept artist is amazing. It's like an event whenever he drops something new for us to look at. Did you see
Chris,
blah blah blah?
Chris, you should. There was a question earlier in the chat that you should allude to with this look after you say the word maybe. Here's the look.
Okay.
Okay, just raise an eyebrow and lean in, and I'll let you know what the question was. The question was cosmetic swimsuits.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe.
excellent, excellent.
so we've seen a bunch of questions to not related specifically to festivals and whatnot. I've seen a few people asking about Rivendell housing
Hmm.
when it is ready. That is when. Housing, as I've said before, is always something that is kind of a side project for the team. We have a goal for when we want it to be released, but we don't want to speak to any release dates for it yet until we are closer to it being available for testing and whatnot. So
Wasn't Erebor housing your lab week last year or the year before?
yeah, Erebor housing was a lab. Lindleby was a lab week or lab couple of months. Basically, once an expansion pack ends, we have this window of time where people are taking much deserved breaks from building expansion pack, doing holiday vacations and whatnot. And so during that window of time, those are opportunities for some of us to kind of just like sit down and play basically. And the last, yeah, Lindleby was one of those. Erebor was one of those. Um, Super secret landscape things that I can't talk about are part of that. So, so yeah, lots of stuff being worked on.
Matt, every time I see some of these questions come in, I just that little part of me that knows the future or knows the potential future just wants to start
We need to
talking.
get we need to get you a Palantir that you can just hold up, and that can be the sign for like
Just
I
yeah,
have news, but you can't see
we
it
can't we
yet.
can't
I
talk.
have
We
read
cannot
your
talk.
question and acknowledged that you asked it.
That is exactly what is happening. Yes. I see many questions, and I wish I could talk about many of the things that you are bringing up. Sadly, I
Uh,
cannot yet.
Captain Kieran says, "Can we know more about this festival island? Is it in Gondor, like Kaer Andros, or in the Phallus, or
We
is
should
it a bit more south?"
we should probably not go into too much detail about where it is, and let that be more of a fun reveal when we open it up.
It
It's
it
not that far
exists.
Okay,
away.
It exists in the world,
it
and
exists.
Eagle Eye adventurers can see it from existing
I've
locations.
seen a forum post
Yeah,
about them. Actually,
yeah,
you sent it
because
to me, Matt.
like Druid's just said, like it's there. It's like not hidden.
We're
It
not hiding it,
amazes
right?
me
Yeah.
what players notice. Like this tree moved 3 inches since the last update. What's coming to this
Oh
land? Like,
yeah.
how did you know that?
Oh,
Yep.
we
You
we
know.
are already at a point now. Like, players are very intently looking at the site for Rivendell housing. Um, they
Yep.
desperately want us to give them more information about what's coming up in the expansion pack, and those eagle-eyed adventurers will be eagle-eyeing soon enough, I am sure, because we have to build and check in our work, and that means it gets added to data. So
Yes, yes, and we have a lot of people who are very good at sniffing out all of the new data and then parsing it out for everybody to see.
That makes me
Which is
sad, though.
no, I mean it's been
Yeah, I
around.
know.
Like I mean the entirety of like not to do the throwback thing again, but to do the throwback thing again with Asheron's Call, there was this whole system that was built around you didn't know what your spell rotation was, and you had to learn the different items that you needed in order to cast your spells. And somebody wrote a program to just make that completely useless. So it's
well,
existed since the early 2000s.
there's been between the generations of MMO and just gaming in general, there has been this shift away from players going in world to discover things versus this desire to kind of know what they're going into before they go into it. Um, and it's tricky because we don't want to spoil anything. And personally, I think you know the discovery aspect of it is part of the fun of the game, and that's not something for everyone. Like I remember when I did some of the reworks in Angmar for the legendary servers, I built a whole new little section of Angmar that was just like a Croftland was, and there were people that were kind of like legitimately angry that I didn't write a patch note for it
Yeah,
because
yeah.
because
That's
here I was
something that
thinking like I'm doing this fun little thing that's not really consequential to anything, and it's just like a cool like, oh hey, this is different now kind of thing, and hoping that that's the experience that I get. And there are people that love that and enjoy that, but there are also people that they want to know every little detail about what an update holds and what an expansion pack or a pack holds in it, and both are valid. It just, for me, I am an explorer mindset player, which makes sense considering what I do. So the sense of discovery is the reward for me.
Yeah, I think especially as a content designer, like we don't want people to be spoiled who don't want to be, because
Yeah.
it's easy to be unintentionally spoiled, and so that people can enjoy surprises. But also, another problem with data mining is that not every bit of data that gets put in the game is finished or used. There,
Or legit. Yeah.
plans are changed, projects canceled. Real life happens, so things get shuffled around sometimes, and sometimes someone might start working on a dungeon that then gets cut. So,
Yep.
and then people were like, "What about blah blah blah?" It's like that's none of your business.
Yeah.
There
There.
may or may not have been a super secret project called Grass that was running at one point in time, or Sheep.
Grass.
Grass and Sheep. Those were two code names that we had that we ran a
Well,
long time
even
ago.
even in Lotro, like there was a whole instance space that was built in
Yep.
Carbronach for Gundabad that we had to cut because,
Yeah,
like
that's
you
what I was
said,
thinking of.
life happened, and we needed to pivot, and so there's that whole space that if any of our designers at some point are like, I want to build an instance that's kind of Karn Doomy, then like there we go. Like that is a space that is there and available for it. So
That's
yeah,
something
like
as
stuff
like I can tell
changes.
you guys like as a former player who became a dev, I've got the inside peek here, and I can tell you that the reason why we don't tell everything isn't because we like keeping secrets to ourselves. It's because things change, so we don't want to say things that we are like once it's out there, like oh they're committed to this. So we don't like to say these things until it's like done and in the can, so that we're not making promises that we're not able to keep. That's the main reason most of the time, except for story things like the epic. That's secret for reasons.
For reasons.
For reasons.
For reasons. I saw a few questions that I should probably answer, huh?
Go for it if you feel like it.
So there was a question about why don't we give infamy on all the quests in the Ettenmoors. So infamy is supposed to be gained only by engaging in the PvP, because most of the quests that are actually out there are built around PvE. We don't give infamy for those. There was another question about. There was a couple of others. There was one in there about when are we getting another class for monster play like the Cargul? Won't be a Cargul, I can tell you that, like, because Cargul won't be the class if there is one. If there is one.
It's almost like you're
Witch
picking up your
Kings.
Palantir
Everybody is
again.
the Witch King. An army of Witch Kings. That would be pretty fun, but overpowered.
We actually have the Witch King built, unironically.
you
Hence,
you log
sheep.
into him yourself and
That was another one of those things that we thought about. We almost did for a while, and then we had to pull back from it. A lot of
now
stuff
you're
like
gonna
that.
you're gonna have made news and people are just gonna be like, I want my Witch
Oh,
King
that
monster
was
player.
that was what 10, 12 years ago. All right, it had to have been at least 12 years ago. That
Was
was long
that?
before Rohan. That was before Rohan. That was sheep.
I don't remember the code names for things, but I think I remember what you're talking about because I think I built the
That was
maps for
sheep.
that.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, people know
You
about
built
the
the you
maps.
built, yeah, they know the maps. I wanted to resurrect one of the maps and bring it back, the one that's in Moria.
Yep, it still exists. I think
I
that's the only one that still existed. All the other ones I
I
built.
I have an
Um,
event that would let everybody in that particular area of the world go to it, but it's untested, and I don't know that it would work the way I wanted to right now.
That means it doesn't work.
Yeah, it probably doesn't work. Oh, I mean, we can. I've actually seen the pieces of it work that I want to work. The the problem eh, the problem is being able to properly shut it down or properly control how many people can get into the space.
Which is very important.
However, the changes that Vastin has made and given us with the the Veil of the Nine events could potentially change some of that.
that's
I just haven't
those
had time to
changes.
revisit it.
Those changes are a treasure trove of things to play with.
Oh yes. Oh goodness, yes. Goodness,
Like I
yes.
said.
That was
Y'all are
a.
like toys.
Oh, there's definitely toys there. There's definitely toys there. Lots and
um,
lots of toys there.
so there was a question further up asking about neighborhood events and festivals for neighborhoods, because we started a little bit with trick or treating in neighborhoods, and um,
That's really
I
fun. I
think
wish more
that's
people participated.
well, I think some of the challenges that we have with neighborhoods right now is the intent for them is to be kind of these social spaces, but our um, it is difficult for them to be social spaces because of you can't easily summon people into your neighborhood to join you there. Um, I think whenever we have talked about events and have talked about neighborhoods and whatnot, uh, the idea of doing more things like trick or treating does come up. And, I think with a few tweaks to how our neighborhoods work, we could make them into robust festival spaces. Um, Alan and I have talked about neighborhood specific events, and those can be tricky because we want to like be able to have events happen, but not necessarily have them happen on all versions of the neighborhood. Like if a neighborhood decides, hey, we want to have a party going on here, right now the way the system is set up is if they kick that off, every neighborhood of that type is going to have a party happening in it. And that's not necessarily ideal. So there's certainly some changes to really make individual neighborhoods into robust party spaces, basically, or festival and event spaces. There's some changes that we need to make to our system, and we know what those changes are. We know what we want, and it's just a matter of us getting the engineering time to address those issues.
I'm actually sending a message to MVP right now about something that just jogged my mind that you were just asking about, folks.
I do appreciate, though, that for the trick-or-treating, I'm not sure who organizes it, but there's usually a Google Doc that lists the houses that have the treats out and which ones are on their porch. So people can reference that to find places to go, that like, oh, this neighborhood has a whole bunch, so you can find where to go. But it would be nice if there was something in-game that allowed people to know where to go. But
I mean, one of the things...
Oh, sorry, play with the toys that we have. No, you go ahead.
No, one of the things that I have had in my head as far as like housing offerings and whatnot goes are the idea of like party in a box, where it's an object that you have that you use it and it can cause a small band to spawn around you, or a fireworks show to happen, and some of those things are very doable within what we have currently. It's just a matter of having the time to do all the setup for it. Particularly those kinds of things are stuff that is not directly in my wheelhouse, so there's some learning that would need to go into that in order to be able to build them myself, but they are technically doable with what we have. It just takes time and freedom in my schedule to do so. So we are just about 5 minutes out from this. We're getting close to the end. So if anyone has any more questions regarding festivals and events and those sorts of things, please feel free to drop them in the chat. Is there anything else that we want to talk about in regards to festivals? Any of the challenges that goes into making them? I think at the end of the day, a lot of players just see the frivolity of the festival, but they are more complex than I think a lot of people realize.
Yeah. They're more complex than I realized when I started working. Because, like I can bang out, landscape quests pretty fast. But, when I planned these out, I thought like I was a little overconfident. I think I was like, oh, this will be simple. And then once I sat down and started putting it together, it was not. And I've gotten into things that I didn't know what I was getting myself into, like with randomization and that sort of thing, because as repeatables, these are like daily repeatables. Like people are going to be playing them over and over again for years, and it's like I feel really self-conscious about that. I want them to be good, and I want people to not get tired of them. And the more randomization there is, the better it is for that. And people just want to go in there and bang them out and have fun doing it, and they don't want it to feel like a grind. So I think that's the main challenge is making them fun, repeatable, and not feel grindy. So
I remember when Hobnanigans was first being worked on, and like the amount of time spent on getting that built, easily equivalent to the amount of time spent on building a raid, if not longer, because it was much like what was going on with Veil of the Nine. It was doing things in our game systems that we hadn't done before. And I think that's kind of a hallmark of a lot of our festival work, is doing things that hasn't been done before on the implementation side of things, even if the end result looks and feels familiar to the players. Like it it
Right.
doesn't feel like it is that complex to the players. But
There's a lot
even
of complexity on the back end.
yeah, even things like the horse races and whatnot, like those
Oh my
those
god.
are fairly complex. There's events that are associated with them. There's
Yeah,
skill
those are
effects, like
some of the largest quests in the game actually because of how many separate events there are to the horse races. It's if we ever like peeled back that layer of the onion to show the players how it's done, they'd be like, oh wow, like, and if one of those is just set wrong because they all have to be in sync with the number that they're associated with, oi, you can definitely end up in a bad situation when you're working on those things. I don't know how I know, but I do know. I do know.
Yeah, I have a
not that you have any
question,
personal
Midsummer. The one,
experience or anything.
the one with randomization. I would say that if you look at the code objects for that, it's probably as much or more complex than the boss for a 6-man. Like
Oh
it's,
yeah,
and it's just not that at all, but it's equally complex to do. So
it is.
Well,
It really is.
and the tricky thing with a lot of, particularly with stuff like that, that includes requiring like hotspots and volumes and whatnot, is how our engine manages things like hotspots and volumes for detecting actions within a space. We've learned a lot very recently about how those things work as
I
part of
invented
like
a new kind of
performance.
hotspot detection that I can't talk about.
We also discovered a lot of other things
Yes.
with the new servers, which is good. A lot of it was good. Uh, someone asked, did we answer the question about fireworks becoming baubles?
I haven't. I don't think we've answered anything about.
All
There
right,
was a question
so
about a fireworks carry-all, but
but we are looking at making the fireworks into bubbles where they can be turned into bubbles. There's again like there's some weirdness with the way that some of them were implemented that makes it a little more difficult. But yeah, there are more items that are being converted. I believe with the update. Pretty sure.
well, I think with the bobble system, that's something that when we announced it, a lot of people were very excited for it, but there was also I think Discord just rebooted on me. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can get back to Discord. Go here. See if it loads up. All right. Well, I think Discord has crashed on me, which is how I was streaming with Chris and Alan. So, unfortunately, I think that may be the cue to wrap things up since our group has disappeared on me. Um, Sorry for that hiccup at the end, but one for hanging out, asking your questions, joining us on our discussion about festivals. We will be back next month with our We Have a Cave Troll stream. We haven't decided what our theme is going to be for that yet, but we will let you know as soon as we know. As always, too, first Wednesday of every month is the casual stroll through Lord of the Rings Online with myself, in which I will be going through the Ettenmoors. So that'll be fun. So, thank you, everyone. I apologize for the crash of Discord there at the end, and we will see you all soon. Have a great afternoon.